Thank you everyone for joining today's event with WEI and Fortinet. I'm Mark DeChico. I am a client executive here with WEI, and I am joined by Taz Fatehi, Regional Manager of Enhanced Technology at Fortinet. Taz, thanks for joining today.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
And today's presentation focuses on FortiMonitor with its cloud-based full stack visibility and automated remediation. A little bit about WEI. We are a New England-based value-added reseller and tech partner, and we always put the customer first. That's the thrust of everything that we do here. And I would add too, that our people are really exceptional in their understanding of technology, and that's true across a wide array of products, solutions, and services. We are a privately owned business, and that affords us the opportunity to work with customers as trusted advisors and on various projects, just really recommend, design, and provide solutions that uniquely fit, right? As you know, the industry is continuing to evolve, right? And there's just bad actors trying to exploit new attack vectors all the time. And how many stories have we heard about organizations getting hit? It's relentless. And I can tell you that the network and security practice at WEI has experienced year after year growth to meet the new demands of that security teams face day in, day out. And when you combine our team in this area, we have over 30 years of experience with architecting and implementing solutions backed by Fortinet's portfolio. So we're proud to have several engineers on staff that are carrying NSE 1 through 7 certs, and we're designated today as a Fortinet advanced partner. With the Fortinet solutions deployed to over 75 different customers today across every industry, WEI has built a reputation for success and expertise. At the same time, WEI's partnership with Fortinet has mirrored the overall success and growth of our network practice. So we're thrilled to be working together. And just like that, Taz, I think we're ready for you to hop in here and give us a clear picture of how FortiMonitor can help.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate that, and thanks for starting us off so well. Everybody else on the call, thanks for joining. Thanks for the time. Couldn't imagine a better way to spend a Thursday afternoon. I mean, for me, I just love talking about monitoring. I think everybody else probably has dual agendas to be on the call here today. But no, just I think when we talk about Fortinet and our partnership with WEI, there's so much that the two are doing. There's so many projects. There's so many different technologies that Fortinet offers. And today, I think we're focusing and honing in on just one that over the last few months has really become a talking point amongst IT organizations. And that's, how do we handle monitoring? Is it about time that we look at a better solution or a better way of monitoring the health and the availability of not just our networks, but also IT as a whole, our other assets, our cloud assets, and so on. So today, let me get into FortiMonitor. I do work with Mark and other Fortinet reps as well. So happy to engage with you guys on questions, on demonstrations about this product. Today, I think we're going to just see a very brief overview of the solution itself. Mark, you can see my screen, right? It says FortiMonitor overview on it.
Yeah, we can absolutely see that.
Awesome. So for those who don't know what FortiMonitor is, we were acquired last year by Fortinet. It was a solution that's been around for well over 10 years, 13 years going now. And it's very different than your traditional monitoring platforms because of the fact that it is a cloud-based alternative. So we really like to leverage the fact that we're hosted in the cloud, and we don't have to have our customers worry about compute or storage capabilities. They can get unlimited monitoring and be able to store that data in the cloud without really any hesitations. And I think you'll see the entire platform reflects that, the simplicity, not just from the architecture, not just from the UI, but also from the licensing side of things, makes it very easy to onboard and go on this journey to replace the current monitoring solution you might have. Now, of course, that being said, the biggest value that FortiMonitor brings for most environments is that it is a true single pane of glass. Not only does it look at a hybrid infrastructure ranging from IBM mainframes all the way into EC2 instances in the cloud, but it also covers any manufacturer that you might have in your environment. So yes, Fortinet is really moving forward by producing solutions that not just support Fortinet products, but also any other vendor that you might have in your environment, whether it be Cisco, Checkpoint, Palo Alto, or on the system side, whether it be Windows, Linux, a true array of products that you might have. Now that we have a little bit of a glimpse into what this does, I really, I'd love to hear some questions from the group. Mark, I think you're going to facilitate that. So if you guys have any questions as we start talking about this, feel free to share them. And at some point I'll pause and we'll go into some questions there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the chat's there for you as well. So they can come in as they're front of mind for you. So you don't lose them. Feel free to drop them in.
Perfect. So yeah, and I think, from the other side of things, we're also going to look at how this particular solution, being cloud-based, brings a different vantage point than what we're used to seeing from a monitoring world, right? Can we look at things differently? Can we see things in a different light? And could that help some operational side of the house as well? So we'll talk about that as well. A little bit about the product. Of course, I mentioned it has not been around for just a few months, although Fortinet acquired it last year. The product itself, previously known as Panopta, was around for over 13 years. And in that time, some really great availability for all of its clients that use it today. We're a little over 1,000 clients now through our partners. And I think the fact that I like most about this product being SaaS-based is that, over the years, we've now accumulated to about 10 million metrics every 60 seconds, kind of talking about how well it's been battle tested over the years with the number of clients that we have. But I think for everybody on the call, you're probably still trying to figure out, where does this fit in, or what do I have today that this might be an alternative to or a replacement for, so I can hone in on some of the questions and some of the, what I should be looking out for. And let me bring your attention to this slide here. What we're trying to showcase here is, again, how wide of the single pane of glass is FortiMonitor. At the top, you're noticing 5 of its main functionalities, and underneath, some of the products that you might have in your stack today that could potentially be replaced by having FortiMonitor. Not only does that help you consolidate, but also helps collaboration in the team. We want our network teams to work well with our systems and our application teams, and overall provide the business with some better availability, better SLAs, reduce MTTR and MTTA times. So I see the first question from Kevin: is there a client that needs to be installed? Really good question. We're getting right into the technical weeds of it. Yes, there will be some things that need to be installed. Even though this is cloud-based, you do have a source of collection at different points within your infrastructure. And I'll definitely get to that in just a minute when we talk about architecture. So good question there. I'll keep that in the back of my mind. But on devices specifically, it depends on what it is that you're trying to monitor. And I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Coming back to this graphic here, again, not going too deep into every point, but the sort of the core component of the product is to monitor. And I think what I will mention here is that it's trying to simplify monitoring, whether it's from an auto discovery perspective, whether it's from using different protocols to monitor the specific device that you're looking to monitor through APIs, SNMP, ICMP, and so on, or whether it's monitoring an unlimited number of metrics behind a specific device. You'll see that the licensing and the whole product is simplified, so that as soon as the device comes in, it starts to see some of that experience right away. You don't have to use scripting or heavy clunky configurations to figure out how you're going to stand this up in the environment. And I think that's the piece that I might focus on today the most. On the other side of the house, there's a lot of operational functions here. I think a lot of organizations today are constantly trying to calibrate and build a better NOC facility. But we understand that in IT, we no longer have the affordability of just having people glued to their desks, watching a screen change from green to red. So we need a solution that's going to be adaptive to our environment. It's going to respond to us better, or perhaps point us in the direction that we need to be looking into so that we can solve the problem a little bit faster. And that's why we brought in a security approach of incident management into monitoring. This is the solution curating for your group the outage and a dashboard about the outage, explaining what is the problem, where is it affecting other places in the environment or in the network, as well as what can you do about it? Can you see what was done the last time to fix it? How long has this been going on for? And then, of course, far better alerting than what most are used to today, which is a barrage of emails, reducing that to reduce noise and ensure that the engineer sees what's important and drives closer to the metal that way. So we'll talk about that as well. On the other side of things, if you're an IT team working on monitoring and managing servers and VMs and compute resources, you'll appreciate automatically remediating problems as well. Putting in scripts like PowerShell, Python, and Bash to ensure that when outages occur, the problems are resolved without human intervention. Solving some problems at 2 a.m. without waking anybody up, restarting services, emptying out disk spaces, and so on. So we'll talk about that as well. And last two pieces I think that are becoming ever so needed today on the network side, being able to push configurations across the board. A lot of different vendors, Fortinet included, have their vendor specific applications and services that help you manage configuration. This is vendor agnostic. Think about being able to push a config file to any number of your switches, your access points, your firewalls from a singular point of view so that you can perhaps remediate and solve problems a little bit faster. You can also look at backups. You can look at differences between the last two. You can also have those emailed to you so that you can stay on top of things and meet some compliance requirements for those on the healthcare side or the education side. And lastly, the piece that I think is growing ever so more is the fact that we have so many users outside of our environment, outside of our realm, that we sometimes cannot control their access to. And so we want to understand what is their experience like. We want to be able to test or simulate their steps and see if that is successful, see what the latency looks like. And for that, we rely on synthetic testing. And so you'll see that this product can also help you run synthetic tests to ensure that those applications are available, those API calls can be made, and so on. How am I doing on time, Mark?
You're doing great. And I just want to say, I mean, to have all these, capabilities, through a single pane of glass is extremely valuable to our customers. I mean, we're all having these conversations about monitoring, about IR, about remediation, and the fact that, these are things that you're bringing to the table. It's impressive.
Yeah, I'm glad. I think in some of the environments that we have now been established and gone through phase 1 and phase 2 of setting the products up, what we have noticed is that you no longer see systems teams saying, hey, this is a network problem, and network teams saying, hey, this is an application problem. Now you have the solution curating for you who should be responsible, why they should be responsible, and what they should be doing to solve this issue. And I think that kind of just gears and puts the focus in the right place. So definitely appreciate and definitely agree that the consolidation piece is really helpful on so many different levels.
Absolutely.
In terms of where we stand in the market, I think, as you all know, with Fortinet, the idea is always to produce more and more value with every product that we lay out there. If you take a FortiGate, it's fantastic and it's impressive to see a FortiGate run SD-WAN versus other manufacturers that need multiple tools to do the same thing. And I think the idea is the same. How can we drive more value into one platform? And so you'll see a few more green check boxes on ours as compared to some of the competitors or some of the other products that you might have seen in the past. Don't even get me started on Nagios, or Nagging Nancy, as I like to call her. I've been using that product for a long time, and just there's so many red flags there. So if you're using something like that, and if you find your teams are inundated with alerts, or they're sending all their alerts into a folder somewhere that never gets looked at, there's probably good reason for it. Let's help the team kind of facilitate that. Let's help the team resurface some of the more important issues so that they're not missed. And we'll talk about how we can do that as well. For the technical bit, and now moving towards Kevin, your question on, what do we need to install on devices versus just the environment as a whole. So I'll spend a brief moment onto the architecture, and then if time permits, I think I'd like to show everybody a little bit of the UI, a little sneak peek behind the curtain, if that's okay. And of course, we'll reserve the lengthier demonstration for some one-on-one conversations as well. So, when you're looking at a cloud-based solution, I think some of the first questions that security has in mind is, what data are you taking and what are you doing with it, right? So let's tackle those challenges right off the bat. At the very top left corner, you'll see everything is stored in the cloud. All the processing and the analytics are done in the cloud. We're using GCP as our provider. We've just found that over the years, that's helped us a lot with reliability, availability across the globe, and so on. All of the red arrows that you notice on this architecture are data arrows pointing in one direction, meaning there's no data coming from the cloud into your environment. We're simply polling your devices in a read-only fashion and bringing that data back to the cloud. We're also not taking any personal information. For those that have compliances to meet on HIPAA or high trust, you'll notice that we kind of navigate through those compliances really well. The data is all encrypted when it's in transit. It's TLS 1.3. When it's at rest, is AES 256.
Excellent.
Wayne, really good question around licensing itself. Going back to that chart earlier around the different use cases for this solution, what you'll see is one license will give you all of these functionalities. And that one license will be charged to one device or one unique IP address. So that switch that you might want to monitor can now have every interface, every port behind it be monitored. You can also push NCM functions to it. You can also remediate things to it. And you can also see the incident management portion of it as well, all under one license.
Great question. Maybe even a better answer.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think long gone are the days where you have to pick and choose where you want to spend your sensors or your licenses. I think that, the number one rule in IT, what you're not looking at is the piece that's wrong or broken. And it's time we move away from it. So our motto is monitor everything you want, monitor as much as you'd like, but only get alerted on things that matter. And I think that's how we facilitate it. That's how we help some of the noise as well.
Great.
Coming back to how do we monitor specifically some of the components we talked about, I'll start with public probes. It's kind of quick to go through this. You might not see an immediate need today for using an external monitoring vantage point, but we have 54 probes across the globe. If you're using synthetics like from New Relic or from Thousand Eyes, you'll see it's a similar approach, except that the licensing is simplified enough where you can just pay for one synthetic and run it as many times as you'd like, instead of having to pay for the megabytes that it takes up or the number of times you run it in a month or in a day or so on. And then again, having to fine tune and manage that across the board. These synthetics can be ran. They can be as simple as a ping check to understand up-down status on a website. They can be as complex as a JavaScript running through two-factor authentication on a publicly or privately hosted application and understanding whether that application is available or not. So you can do some really complex stuff there. And definitely in a demonstration, I can go in depth and show you, what does the vantage point look like when, say, round trip delivery of mail fails? Can you actually see every step that synthetic took? Well, you can. You get a snapshot of it, so you know exactly where did it go wrong. Same sort of method, same sort of type of functionality is brought now internal for your environment using a collector approach. These collectors, for those that are SolarWinds whiz out there, and I promised myself I'll take a drink every time I say the word SolarWinds because it's just so in light these days. But for those that have used to pollers in the past, you'll see that you're kind of getting away from the clunkiness. Here, these collectors, these are virtual appliances. They're actually just Python scripts shipped to you in a Docker container. And definitely you can bet that Fortinet has some great plans of incorporating that into the FortiOS as we go forward. So these collectors, which are Unix-based, they can be deployed in as many locations as you'd like. If you'd like to run them for failover or for load balancing, they'll do that autonomously for you. No need to make some changes ad hoc when one fails. No need to worry about connectivity issues. Again, when one fails, the other one will pick up the load. They're extremely resource light. They take about 2 cores and 4 gigs at the least, at the most about 4 cores and 8 gigs, and that could support up to 250,000 SNMP metrics. The collectors can not only do the synthetics internally, but they also run the SNMP monitoring for all your devices. And I think this is where it starts getting really interesting. I think time has it where you no longer have time to spend configuring each device. You can actually run these collectors in auto discovery and have them find your devices and start monitoring them based on policies that you have set up. And we'll show you that as well in a demonstration. The last piece I'll talk about when it comes to monitoring is, on servers and for VMs, if there is a service or a systems team on the call here, you'll appreciate that not only can you run APIs to things like vSphere and VMware and Nutanix, but you can also deploy an agent on those VMs to monitor the OS and the services running on that VM. we strategically decided to go in this direction because we no longer deem WMI to be as safe as it used to be. So there's no WMI in this product. There's no global domain access. Everything is ran on a read-only fashion. The API into vSphere is read-only. The SNMP is read-only as well. No need to worry about MIBs and OIDs. They're already preloaded for most of the manufacturers. In fact, we have a catalog of over 100 manufacturers and all of their MIBs so that you don't have to actually sift and find one. You'll just see the auto discovery finds the device, figures out what MIB is associated with it, and starts monitoring that device after doing an SNMP walk. And of course, like everybody, I'm sure there are folks on this call that are moving towards the cloud, whether it's virtual networks, whether it's systems, whether it's serverless technologies. Cloud is so big, we want to embrace it. And so AWS, Azure, GCP, all powered through. We can monitor, we can ingest application metrics from the CloudWatch and App Insight applications. We can also put collectors and agents in the cloud to monitor those services and platforms. If there's a team that's moving towards Kubernetes, I'm extremely excited to have a conversation with you guys, especially just because of what we can do with Kubernetes, how we can provide a full Helm chart to show you what's going on at the pod level, at the services running on the pod level as well, all with one agent in the Kubernetes environment. I'll pause here. I didn't see a lot of questions, but if there is something that comes to mind around architecture, deployment, or the ease of setup, I'm happy to answer it. None of this would, when it comes to this sort of architecture, it's all supported through Fortinet as well. Something that I possibly cannot demo about the product is the kind of support you get with it. Being a SaaS platform, we are supporting it 24/7 from the FortiCare side. We also work with partners like WEI to support you on the journey. In fact, we'll actually attach and engineer a CSM to every installment so that they're actually there with you, holding your hand and getting you through that journey of getting something like this onboarded. And they're on board with you for about 12 months after purchase. So you really have a good time to understand best practices when it comes to this product.